This is where the cool noir music should start. But I'm not cool. Dirty World is a noir tabletop RPG by Greg Stoltz, built on the One Roll engine. It's a noir story game, which is to say, it's about drawing your last glass of cigarette while the city blows whiskey smoke in your face. And for all that you can guess how this video is going to go based on how I tend to talk about tabletop RPGs, in that I like finding something interesting but with fixable problems, I want to make it clear, I really like this game. You can find it on itch.io, link down in the description. Today, I want to talk about what makes this game shine, and then we're going to pop the bonnet and take a look inside. Because while the bodywork is slick, the engine, whew, it's an ugly one. Let's start up first with what a Dirty World gets right. The layout is clean. The presentation, very sharp, black and white but with clear boundaries. The photos are evocative and the writing is crisp. It's engaging without being overbearing. I especially want to praise the presentation because I'm pretty confident the graphics in this game are all stock art with some graphic filters to age and weather things. You can do a lot to make your game look really good with cheap or free, non-bespoke art if you're willing to be smart about what you're doing. The hook of character creation is our first section, and it is a good hook. Rather than breaking down a character into 4 basic stats or something like that represent how good you are at something, instead, your character is made up of competing, contrasting ideas in tension with one another. These things that we won't call stat pairs, the game calls them identities, are patience versus cunning, vigor versus grace, and understanding versus persuasion. You know, the 6 genders. The value you have in each stat over a baseline serves as a cap on its competing partner. More patience means less cunning, and vice versa. Then, under each of these big umbrellas, there are smaller specializations, called qualities, where it's things like generosity versus selfishness. This isn't character creation yet, it's rather explaining how characters work, and it gets to be a counterexample to my normal rule that the book should get the player thinking about their character as soon as possible. Because while sure, it's not giving you a budget or it's giving you stuff to play with yet, it's still getting you thinking about your character. It's a neat system with 3 big dials and then 3 smaller dials underneath them that necessarily mean your character is going to wind up with blind spots even within the things that they do well. It's a clever mechanic that immediately gets me thinking about what they express when my character kiffs up with, say, a high corruption but a high honesty. The stats also aren't static. They shift. You'll be gaining or losing them as you act and as you suffer consequences, and at the end of every scene you have the opportunity for explaining to the other players how these things have shifted for your character, meaning that there's a constant consideration of your inner life and talking to other players about that inner life. This is good stuff. Honestly, I think I'd want to play the game with physical sheets, even if I was playing it online or over a video chat. The character sheet seems perfect for tactile pieces you can slide back and forth. It's not a good size for poker chips, but beads, something physical just to track them. Not that pens and pencil are bad, it's just something with a tactile clatter seems good to me. Finally, while we're in the section of just plain glazing this game, given how central an emotions ideas are in noir, you know, the moments before the shooting starts, there's a whole page dedicated towards handling the emotions in the emotional conflict of the game, which builds on the whole point that emotional conflict isn't unambiguous the way that a stab wound is. It's clear, it's thoughtful, and it plants a flag firmly that the mechanics serve the story. This isn't a game where you can talk someone to death, because that's silly, and it's only for games where you're buying into that silly. Like, you know, Exalted. The book itself does a great job supporting the system's quirks. The examples for difficulty and target numbers are excellent. There's real guidance for the kinds of problems you'll face and how to roll for them. How do you roll for them? Okay. So first of all, oof. This is a game based on a system created by Greg Stoltz decades ago for the game Godlike. It's a system that's weathered the test of time, and Stoltz is obviously very familiar with it. I think that familiarity brings with it an uncertainty about how to explain it to a complete newcomer, because the explanation in A Dirty World needs a couple of rereads, so I think it could be helped enormously with a few diagrams. Let me do my best and understand that if I get something wrong here, it's not because I'm trying to make this game look bad. It's because the resource I have to understand the system, this book, is all I have to work from. And I think this book doesn't explain it well in the first impression. First up, it's a dice pool system. You roll a number of 10-sided dice, D10s if you're a cool kid, equivalent to the relevant act contributions. In this case, it's your identity, those pairs of purity versus corruption, etc. above, and quality. And then circumstances and specializations can add to it. If you're a pilot, having the specialization of being able to pilot a plane gets to get involved when you are trying to pilot a plane. That means your default die pool starting out is looking at being something like 3 to 4 die. And it's not until you've got a session or two under your belt that you've got a solid collection of 5 to 6 pips floating around in the things that matter to you. You work out how big your pool is, and then you roll the d10 until you get 2 or more matching dice. Of that pool, you then pick a set. The number on the dice in the set is the height. The number of dice in the set is the width. This is a neat idea, but just looking at those sentences side by side shows how easy it can be to misread in pure text. It's a neat idea. Balancing, can I do it, with how big is the effect I want? Can I select between the cool tension point of wanting a wide set of low numbers or a narrow set of high ones when I'm looking at my rolls, shaping the story around the choice of how I'm going to do this? But the math of this kind of die rolling indicates that's just rarely ever gonna happen, at least starting out. Most of the time, you're going to roll one set of a width of 2 to 3, even when you're rolling large fistfuls of dice, because you're rolling 10-sided dice. I won't go into charts here, but this system does not seem to handle low values and therefore starting characters very well. And here's the kicker. It's called the one roll engine, where the first example it gives includes a reroll because you didn't get any sets. Also in a conflict, you have gobble dice. If we're fighting, I can use my gobble dice to deplete your non-gobble dice. That's mechanically fine, but thematically, it clashes pretty hard with the noir aesthetic. You're in a smoky alley, trench coat on, cigarette burning, and someone says, "Alright, how many gobble dice you got?" It's also not clear if gobble dice come from your pool, my pool, or if the pools are blended somehow. Here's the thing, right? Sometimes a game has rough edges. Sometimes the mechanics are awkward or the ideas are explained weirdly. But if everything else is good, you forgive it. Like, A Dirty World is a great example of this kind of thing. It hooked me as a reader, it gave me my initial character puzzle, and because of that I spent my time reading the rest of the rules, extending it the grace that it needed to finish the pitch. This game isn't going to make you a great noir game master. Great noir game master. But if you're into noir, if you already like the idea of the characters fighting with themselves, with many different deaths available to the way your identity can crumble, this game looks like it whips. I really do recommend you try this game out, especially if you want something genre-specific for a noir mystery story, instead of trying to hack 5th edition D&D into a weird shape. Light yourself a cigarette, pour a drink, and make some bad decisions.